All right, so the first thing you're gonna do to make your fishing rod is you're gonna get all your materials out. You're gonna start with a piece of bamboo, a piece of string or twine, a piece of fishing line, and a hook. Now, if you're going to use this fishing rod for fishing, you'll want to use a real fishing hook. If you have one of my kits, I put a plastic one in so that it's easier to tie without poking yourself. Also, for the purposes of this demo, in addition to using the plastic hook, I'm also going to be using some heavier rope instead of the fishing line. So I'm going to use this in place of the twine, and then I'm going to use the twine in place of the fishing line. That way it's easier to see the knots. But when you are doing this at home, you'll use this for the twine that goes on the fishing rod, and then you'll want to use actual fishing line like is in the kit. All right, so now that you have all of your materials, what you're going to do is take your piece of bamboo and you want to look at both ends of it and decide which end is your handle and which end is the tip of the fishing rod. So I'm going to choose this as my handle right here because this is a little bit thicker. And once I have my handle chosen, I'm going to take my twine, which again, I'm using a heavier rope here so that it's easier to see the knot, but you're going to be using this pink twine or something similar to it if you have it at home. And we're going to take this and we're going to start by wrapping the twine around the fishing rod, and we're going to wrap it around 5 times. After you have it wrapped, what we're going to do next is we're going to make 2 half hitch knots. And this is something that everyone did earlier in the year for one of our earlier adventures. So a reminder of how to make a half hitch: you're going to take this tag end here and go underneath the main line, and then you're going to take that tag end and go through the loop that you just made. And that is 1 half hitch right there. And then we're going to do the same thing again. So underneath the main line and then up over and through that new loop. You can see what that 2 half hitches looks like right there. And then you're going to pull that tight onto the fishing rod. You have to slide that up tight, and it might kind of roll on you a little bit, but you should be able to pull that good and tight so that it doesn't come undone. After you have that 2 half hitches pulled tight on your rod, then you're going to take some of your duct tape and you're going to hold that and tape it right in place so that it looks something like this. Okay, and this is one that I've already done with the twine, and then I taped it right to the pole. Okay, now that you've tied the double half hitch knot at the handle end, now we're going to stretch that twine all the way up to the tip, and up here at the tip we're going to make a second half hitch. The reason that we have the twine go the entire length of the pole is so that if you catch a big enough fish to break your pole, you won't lose the fish along with your broken pole. So hopefully that will hold it all together for you. So we're going to come up here to the end and we're going to do the exact same thing that we did on the handle now at the tip. So I'm going to wrap this string around 5 times, and I'm going to do a double half hitch again. Okay, so just a reminder of how to do the double half hitch. We take the tag end and go under the main line, and then we take that tag end and go through the loop that we just made. And then we do that all over a second time. So we go under the main line again and back through the loop that we just made. So you can see what that double half hitch should look like before you pull it tight. Okay, and then once you have all that in, Then we can pull that tight, and we are going to do the exact same thing we did down at the handle end and make sure that after it's pulled tight, we duct tape it into place. And it should be pretty close to the tip, but you want to make sure it doesn't come off. So something like this, and then we'll duct tape it just like we did on this one. Okay, now that we have both of our double half hitch knots, one tied at the handle and one out at the tip, you should have about 1 foot to 1.5 foot left of your twine. After you have that rest of your stuff tied and you've covered them in duct tape, which I didn't right here, you should have these wrapped in duct tape at this point, and you have this extra line left, now we're going to make a loop on the end right here. And I've always called this knot a surgeon's knot, but I've seen it also called an overhand loop knot. What you do to make this loop is first you double up your line like this so that you're holding a loop, and then you simply take it and do a regular overhand knot. So I'm going to take that looped up line and just pull it into a loop right like that. And that's all you need. So at this stage, now that you have the loop on the end of your line, you should be at the point where you have the handle of your rod with your twine attached to it with 2 double half hitches and then wrapped in duct tape. And then out at the tip of your line, you should also have a double half hitch wrapped in duct tape. And then you should have a loop on the end of your line. This is where you're going to attach your fishing line. So at this stage, you'll be getting your fishing line. But since this fishing line is so hard to see in this video, I'm going to use some thicker string. So I'm going to pretend that this pink twine is my fishing line. And what we're going to do to attach this to the main line is we're going to do another overhand loop knot, or surgeon's knot, whichever we're calling it. So I'm going to double up one end like this and make a loop, and then I'm going to do an overhand knot with that loop. And once I pull that tight, that should not slip at all. Once I have that loop there, then I'm ready to attach this to the twine. So all we need to do that is we're going to come back here to our main line on our rod. We're going to pass the loop on our fishing line right through the loop in our twine. And then I'm going to grab the end of the fishing line and I'm going to go through the loop that is in the fishing line, and I'm going to pull that tight. Right like that. So now the fishing line is attached to the main line of the pole. Okay, so now we're ready for the last step, which is attaching your fishing hook, which obviously I made a big exaggerated fishing hook here, just for demonstration purposes. We're going to be attaching that fishing hook to our fishing line, which again, you're going to be using your actual fishing line, and if you're going to fish with it, an actual fishing hook. So the knot that I'm going to show you guys is called the Palomar knot. This is a really simple knot to tie, and the way you start it is you take your end of your line, go through the loop in the knot, and then you make a loop and go right back through again so that you have your line doubled up like this. Once you have your line doubled up, you're then going to do a regular overhand knot. I'm going to switch my hands around here. So I'm going to do an overhand knot like this. I'm not going to pull it tight yet. And then we're going to put that hook right through the loop part that we just made, and then you can pull it tight over here. That is a Palomar knot. The last step of this would be to pull it tight and then take a knife or a clippers and just cut off the extra line. All right, so one last knot here to tie, and this is only in case you don't want to do the Palomar knot or you just want to see another fishing knot. This knot is called the improved cinch knot, and this is the one that everybody just says it's a fishing knot, but all you do for this is you take your fishing line right through your hook, and then you pull it up like this, and then you're going to rotate the hook 6 times. After you spin it 6 times, you're going to take your tag end and go through the loop that you made down at the bottom, right by the hook. And then you take that tag end and you go right through that new loop that you just made, and then pull that tight. Slide that down just like that, and that is the improved cinch knot. Now you should be finished with your fishing rod. So just a recap of how everything should look. At the handle end of your bamboo stick, you should have your twine tied with a double half hitch knot wrapped in duct tape, and then we stretched that twine, and I wrapped it in duct tape one more time in the middle and stretched it all the way up to the end, where I did another half hitch knot in my twine and then wrapped in duct tape one last time. Out here at the end of the twine, I made a overhand loop knot or surgeon's knot, and then I took my fishing line and made another overhand loop knot, and we pulled that through to join these 2 loops together. At the other end of the fishing line, we should have our fishing hook with some type of fishing knot there. I like the Palomar knot myself, but the improved cinch knot is also a very good choice. At this point, if you have a reel hook on here, you can put a couple of little weights on it or a bobber, and you are ready to put some bait on and go fishing. This is the end of the video. I'd like to give an extra thanks to Griffin Freeman for being an awesome cameraman. Thanks, Griffy.
You're welcome.